You have heard it your whole life. Renting is just throwing money away. It might be the most repeated money sentence in America, and almost nobody has ever actually checked whether it's true. Hey, I'm Stan, engineer, veteran, and I learned money from both sides. Came up counting every dollar on the south side of Chicago, then went and actually studied how it works. Street and school. I bought my first place partly because I was scared of exactly that sentence. I didn't want to be the guy throwing money away, and then the real bill showed up. The interest, the repairs, the toll it takes just to get in and back out. When life made me move a few years later, that friction quietly ate almost every dollar of equity I thought I'd been building. The slogan cost me real money. So I finally sat down and ran the honest math on both sides of it, the part no realtor ever shows you. Let me show you. It starts at a dinner table with one friend saying the sentence.
Picture a dinner table. 6 people, good food, a nice, easy Friday night. And then it happens. Somebody leans across the table, fork in hand, and says the sentence. "You're still renting? Man, that's just throwing money away." And the whole table nods. Of course they nod. Everybody knows that one. It is the most repeated money sentence in America. And down at the end of the table, the guy who rents just kind of shrinks an inch into his chair, pushes his fruit around, and says nothing. Because what is he going to say? Everybody knows renting is throwing money away. It is basically a law of nature at this point. So tonight, we are going to do the one thing nobody at that table ever actually does. We are going to run the math, not the slogan, the math. And we are going to run it on both men, the renter and the smug homeowner who just said the line. Because here's the twist we are going to spend the whole night earning. When you actually add it all up, honestly, this year the homeowner threw more money out the window than the renter did. He just never saw it, because his version had a much nicer name on it. It was called a mortgage. And I want to be really clear before we go 1 inch further. This is not me telling you to never buy a house. Owning a home can be a genuinely great thing, and by the end, I am going to tell you the exact moment it becomes the right move. This is about one thing only. Taking that sentence, that throwing money away sentence, and finally holding it up to the light, because it has been quietly running people's biggest financial decision for about 40 years, and almost nobody has ever checked it. So let us start with the sentence itself. Throwing money away. What does that even mean? It means money that leaves your hands and never comes back. Money you do not get to keep. And by that definition, yes, rent absolutely qualifies. You hand your landlord the check, the money is gone, you own nothing new at the end of the month. Fair, totally fair. But here is the part the dinner table forgets every single time. The exact same test, the does it come back test, has to be run on the homeowner's check too. And when you do, you find out that a shocking amount of what he pays every month also just leaves and never comes back. It is not building him anything either. It is throwing money away wearing a costume. So let us open up that mortgage payment and actually look inside it, because this is the one that genuinely surprises people. When you make a mortgage payment, your gut tells you that money is going into the house, into equity, into your pile, turning rent into ownership. That is the whole story you have been sold. Except in the early years, that is barely true at all. In the first year of a normal 30-year mortgage, right around 86% of every payment you make goes straight to interest. Interest. Not your house, not your equity. It goes to the bank for the privilege of borrowing their money. Only about 14% actually chips away at what you owe. Let me put real numbers on that, because the percentages are almost too clean to feel real. Take a $400,000 loan at today's rates. In year 1, you will pay somewhere around $26,000 in interest. And in that same year, the amount you actually knocked off what you owe, your real ownership, the equity, is under $7,000. So you sent $26,000 to a bank, and it bought you nothing you can keep. Now look me in the eye and tell me which one of these two guys is throwing money away. And it does not flip quickly either. On a normal mortgage, the month where you finally pay more toward your house than toward interest does not show up until somewhere around year 18. Year 18. For the first 17 years, the bank is eating first, and you are eating the crumbs. That interest is not building you a house. That interest is rent. You are just renting the money instead of renting the walls. The renter pays a landlord. The owner pays a bank. And in the early years, the owner is very often paying more. Now, I can feel the pushback already because I felt it too. Okay, fine, but at least some of it builds equity and the renter builds zero. And that is true. So let us keep opening boxes because the interest was only the first one. Because sitting right on top of that mortgage payment is a whole stack of costs that build you exactly nothing. Zero equity. Not a single dollar of it comes back. These are the ones nobody puts on the dinner table. Start with property taxes. The national average is around 1.1% of the home's value every year, which lands around $4,300 a year for a typical house. And in some states, it is brutal. In New Jersey, the average is over $10,000 a year, every year, forever. You never stop paying it. You could own the house free and clear, no mortgage at all, and miss your property taxes, and the government will eventually take it. So ask yourself, honestly, in what universe is that not also renting? You are renting the land from the state, and the rent never ever ends. Then there is maintenance, and this is the quiet one that eats people alive. The old rule of thumb was budget 1% of the home's value a year for upkeep. That number is a fantasy. The real average homeowner spends around $8,800 a year keeping the place from falling apart. The roof, the water heater, the furnace, the tree that comes down in the storm, the pipe that bursts at 2 in the morning. None of that is an investment. That is money set on fire to keep the thing you already bought from crumbling. The renter, by the way, when his water heater dies, he sends a text. It is somebody else's $1,800. So add it up. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance, all the stuff that never becomes equity. For a typical American home, the honest all-in number for just owning and maintaining it comes out to somewhere around $21,000 a year. And that is on top of the mortgage. On top of the interest we just talked about. $21,000 a year, gone, that buys you exactly zero ownership. That is not throwing money away. That is throwing a small car away every single year, quietly, and calling it responsible. Let us take a breath here because I know this is a lot, and I promise I am not doing this to talk you out of ever owning a home. I am doing it because you deserve to see the whole bill before you sign up for it, and nobody, not the realtor, not your uncle, not the guy at the dinner table, is ever going to show you this part. Because we still have not talked about the toll booth. The one you pay just to get in the door, and again just to get back out. When you buy a house, closing costs run somewhere around 3 to 6% of the loan right off the top. Then, when you go to sell, it gets worse. The real estate agents take around 6% of the entire sale price, plus all the other selling fees. Put the two ends together, the buying and the selling, and a full round trip in and back out costs you somewhere around 10% of the home's value. On a typical home, call it around $425,000. That is more than $40,000. $40,000 evaporated just for the privilege of entering and exiting the transaction. And here's the killer. If you buy and then move in a few years, that 40 grand of friction is spread over a tiny amount of time, and it can wipe out every dollar of equity you thought you were building. The renter's cost to move? A security deposit he mostly gets back, and a truck. And there is one more cost, and it is the sneakiest of all of them, because it is completely invisible. It is the down payment itself. To buy that $425,000 home, you put down 20%, which is around $85,000. And everyone treats that $85,000 like it is safe, like it is in a savings account with a roof on it. But that money is not working for you anymore. It is frozen, locked inside the walls where it cannot grow, cannot be invested, cannot do anything. The return that $85,000 could have earned, sitting in the market instead, that giving up is a real cost. Economists have a name for it, opportunity cost. And it is the invisible rent that every homeowner pays and never once feels. So now, finally, let us go back and settle the thing the whole dinner table got wrong. The old wisdom had a rule, the 5-year rule. Own for 5 years and buying beats renting. That rule is dead. It died quietly a couple of years ago and nobody held a funeral. Today, with these rates, these prices, and all that friction we just walked through, The break-even point, the moment where buying finally pulls ahead of renting, has stretched all the way out to about 10 years. 10 years. And that is if you put a healthy 20% down. Which means if there is any real chance you move for a job, a relationship, a life, inside of about a decade, the math does not just lean toward renting. It basically screams it. Because here's what that renter, the one shrinking in his chair, was actually doing this whole time, that nobody at the table gave him 1 ounce of credit for. Right now, today, in most of the country, the typical buyer is paying around $2,700 a month, while the typical renter is paying closer to $2,000. So the renter is quietly saving around $750 every single month. Over just 3 years, that is nearly $28,000 he did not light on fire. And he still has that $85,000 down payment in his hands, liquid, invested, growing. And if his job calls tomorrow and says, "We need you in another city," he gives 30 days notice and he is gone. No agent, no 6%, no $40,000 exit toll, no praying the market is up the month he has to sell. That is not nothing. That is the whole point. Renting is not throwing money away. Renting is buying something. It is just something you cannot see. You are buying flexibility. You are buying liquidity. You are buying a hard cap on your housing cost, where the number on the lease is the most you will pay that year. Because for the owner, that mortgage is the least he will pay. The taxes, the maintenance, the surprise repairs, they only ever stack on top. So let me hand you the actual test, the honest one, that cuts through the entire dinner table argument in about 10 seconds. Buying a home is the right move when 3 things are true at once. 1, you are genuinely going to stay put for something like 10 years or more. 2, you can comfortably carry all of it, the phantom costs and the repairs and the taxes, without it crushing you. And 3, you would have blown the difference anyway instead of investing it, so the house becomes your forced savings account. When all 3 are true, buy the house and buy it happily. It is a wonderful thing to own your home. But if even one of those is shaky, if you might move, if the payment would strangle you, if you are a genuinely disciplined saver, then renting is not the sad, throwing money away consolation prize. It is very often just the smarter play, run by the person at the table who actually did the math. And that is really the whole thing, if you strip it all the way down. Both of these men are paying for a place to live. Both of them have money that leaves and does not come back. One of them is slowly, illiquidly buying equity and paying a fortune in friction for the privilege. The other is staying flexible, staying liquid, and keeping his money free. Neither one is throwing money away. The only person throwing anything away is the guy who repeats a slogan he has never once checked and uses it to make somebody else feel small over dinner. So if I just handed you a little bit of quiet armor for the next time you are at that table, do me one small favor and subscribe. That is genuinely the entire reason this channel exists. No shame, no hype, just the honest math on the stuff everybody repeats and nobody checks. One real number at a time. And I really want to hear this one, so tell me down in the comments. What is the money slogan you grew up hearing? The one everybody around you just accepted as gospel, that you have started to quietly question? Renting is throwing money away. Buying is always an investment, whatever yours was. I read every single one. So the next time somebody leans across the table and tells you that you are throwing your money away, you do not even have to argue with them. You can just smile, pass the potatoes, and know that you are the only one at the table who ever actually opened the envelope and looked inside. Before you go, here's the whole thing in one breath. Throwing money away is a slogan, and we only ever aim it at renters. The honest move is to run the exact same test on the homeowner's check. Because a mortgage is mostly rent in the early years. Around 86% of your first year of payments is pure interest, not equity. Then come the phantom costs that build zero ownership. Property taxes, insurance, and upkeep run somewhere around $21,000 a year on top of the mortgage. And the friction bleeds both ways. Buying and then selling costs about 10% of the home's value, while your down payment sits frozen in the walls where it can't grow. The old 5-year rule is dead. The break-even point has stretched out to about 10 years. Renting buys flexibility. You pay less right now, you keep your money liquid, and you can move in 30 days. If this handed you a little quiet armor for the next dinner table, do me a favor and subscribe. That's the whole reason this channel exists. No shame, no hype, just the honest math on the stuff everybody repeats and nobody checks. One real number at a time. So next time somebody says you're throwing your money away, just smile, pass the potatoes, and know you're the only one at the table who actually opened the envelope. I'll see you in the next one.